Hi, I'm James Angell, and I'm honored to be the narrator for L.A. Sartor's Starlight, Starbright romance novel series. Today, I wanted to show you how I go about turning a book into an audio file that you can download on Audible, Amazon, or iTunes. We'll be working with sections of L.A.'s second book in her Starlight, Starbright series, Forever Yours This New Year's Night. The first book of the series, Be Mine This Christmas Night, is already available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. Well, we're going to go downstairs and I'll show you my studio and then show you how I edit down the raw files that I create. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome to my studio. As you can see, it's a space that we've carved out of a guest room at our house in Cheyenne, Wyoming. But it's a special space that's more or less engineered to reduce the amount of slapback or sound we get bouncing off of hard surfaces. I pasted acoustic foam to some plywood to create an enclosure here, and behind me you can see a family quilt that I'm sure my mother would be thrilled to see hanging from the wall. Basically, the intent is always the same: to capture the sound before it hits a hard surface and bounces back. That keeps the sound cleaner and easier to edit, quite frankly. As far as the equipment I'm using, we start off with an interface down here between the microphone and my computer. I happen to like an Apple MacBook Pro, but the program I'm using, Audacity, is also available for PCs. Audacity, by the way, is available for free online. It's a wonderful program, very simple to operate, and I highly recommend it for anyone who wants to record audio files. We have our microphone is a different kind of microphone than what you usually see on stage for a music group. It's powered, which gives it a bit more crispness, allows for a bit more articulation, and so it's very handy that way. And then, of course, we get right into the guts of the recording system, my old Apple MacBook Pro. I'm going to record just a little bit of L.A.'s second book in her Starlight, Starbright series, Forever Yours This New Year's Night, the story of Jennifer Malone and Bryce Young and how they come to have a relationship. I'm not going to spoil the story, and I'll only be reading a very little bit from the beginning, so you're still going to have to get the book. I'm not giving it away for you here. But it goes something like this. After kicking off her black stilettos and yanking off her blouse and black pencil skirt, she pulled back the covers and lay on the soft white sheets, still wearing the scraps of lace that passed for her undies. Glancing at the time on her cell phone, she saw with a pang that it was past midnight on the East Coast. Christmas Day at this end of the country. Merry Christmas, Annie. I hope it's perfect for you. Sweet dreams. She wished her best friend 1,400 or so miles away. Staring at the ceiling, an image of Major Bryce Young's face played on the white plaster. Dark gray eyes with flecks of gold, almost eerie in their color. Lips that had touched hers, firm and cool. A chin that said Bryce brooked no resistance. And what was with the long hair that curled at the nape of his neck, in stark contrast to his crisp white shirt? Not military hair for sure. Madam Ice Queen. Jen closed her eyes against the burn of tears, refusing to let a single one fall as she replayed the sting in Bryce's voice. She was strong, independent, and she wasn't an ice queen. She wasn't. Once again, she wished she were home. So that's the ending of that little passage. And what we're going to do now is take it up and edit out the breaths you heard me take, the hesitations. If I had gotten something wrong, I would have just kept right on going and then edited out the bad take and replaced it with the good take. So that's what we'll do now. We'll head up to my main editing computer. Come on up. So what I've done now is transferred the sound files that I created on my trusty laptop onto my full-size Mac. It just makes it easier to see things. Again, using the Audacity program, I'll edit the actual sound files. What you're seeing here are sound waves that are recorded by Audacity. Now, I have a host of editing tools that I can use to clean up my mistakes. For instance, right here, you'll hear a fairly deep breath. Well, that's not going to work at all. So I just highlighted that and took it out. And then I begin. After kicking off her black stilettos and yanking off her blouse and black pencil skirt, she pulled. Now you notice there that I took a breath. That's so I wouldn't run out of breath by the time I hit the end of the sentence. But I can edit that out just by doing this. And this. And I can set up the timing so that it will sound right. Stilettos and yanking off her blouse and black pencil skirt, she pulled back the covers and lay on the soft white sheets, still wearing the scraps of lace that passed for her undies. So that's what I spend a lot of time doing. I was told once that I am a heavy breather. I think my wife told me that. But nonetheless, I'm sorry, I'm joking, but what that means is I'm a very noisy breather when it comes to recording, so I have to edit out my inhales. Lace that passed for her undies. Glancing at the time on her cell phone, she saw with a pang that it was past midnight on the East Coast. Now, you heard this. Here's a problem I have occasionally, and I think every recording artist does. The pang that you heard that puh, puh. That's called a plosive. And what that is an explosive exhalation of air during a sound. So Audacity, thankfully, has an effect that I can use to wipe that sound out, or at least make it a little less noticeable. On her cell phone, she saw with a pang that it was past midnight on the East Coast. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break so I can finish editing this clip. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what it would sound like without all the deep breaths and hiccups and coughs and belches and that kind of thing. So give me just a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've finished editing the clip, and what I have now is 1 minute and 15 seconds of sound file. Now that's from the 1 minute and 26 seconds that we had originally. But those 10 seconds here and 10 seconds there add up, especially when you have a screw up somewhere in the taping and you want to take out the place where you said flubbernugget or something like that and replace it with a real word. But why don't you listen in on what we ended up with? After kicking off her black stilettos and yanking off her blouse and black pencil skirt, she pulled back the covers and lay on the soft white sheets, still wearing the scraps of lace that passed for her undies. Glancing at the time on her cell phone, she saw with a pang that it was past midnight on the East Coast, Christmas Day at this end of the country. Merry Christmas, Annie. I hope it's perfect for you. Sweet dreams. She wished her best friend 1,400 or so miles away. Staring at the ceiling, an image of Major Bryce Young's face played on the white plaster. Dark gray eyes with flecks of gold, almost eerie in their color. Lips that had touched hers, firm and cool. A chin that said Bryce brooked no resistance. And what was with the long hair that curled at the nape of his neck, in stark contrast to his crisp white shirt? Not military hair for sure. Madam Ice Queen. Jen closed her eyes against the burn of tears, refusing to let a single one fall as she replayed the sting in Bryce's voice. She was strong, independent, and she wasn't an ice queen. She wasn't. Once again, she wished she were home. So that's our finished segment for that piece. Now, if you can imagine, like I say, a chapter will take 25 to 30 minutes to read through, but about 2 hours to edit down. And that's because I make a lot of mistakes, as anybody does when they're reading this kind of book. But when you edit those out, you get a nice 25 or 30 minute chapter, or maybe a little less. And then what I do after that, I turn this file into an MP3 and I send it to LA for her review. We make sure, both of us, every step of the way, that I don't misread a word. For instance, say that instead of it, or awake instead of awoke. We read it against the book itself to make sure that we're honest and true to what's in that manuscript. So that's how I turn a book into an audio file that you can listen to in your car, on your phone, what have you. It's been a really interesting process working with LA to make sure that the vision she had for her book translates into tape. We've spent the better part of the last couple of weeks trying to figure out some of the new voices for Forever Yours this New Year's night. And I think we finally got there, and I'm about ready to start recording the full book. Doing voices, the separate voices, is actually one of the more difficult things, especially when they're backed right up next to each other. If you've already picked up Be Mine This Christmas Night, you'll notice there are several places where Peter, Cole's son, and Josh, Cole's son, and Cole all speak back and forth. And that gets a little difficult, but it really is kind of fun to try and balance them out. The other thing that I have to remember is to speak slowly. If any of you are interested in this, it's a lot of fun, but when you're talking in book style, you're talking much slower than you are in normal human speech. It's been a joy to work with LA in bringing her book into the spoken word. It's been a lot of fun working with her on the different aspects of the characters and the feel for each passage. I'm looking forward to doing more of that, and I hope you're looking forward to getting more of LA's books because they're wonderful. She's a very gifted author, and I'm very proud to be working with her. We'll see you on Audible, iTunes, or Amazon. Thanks a lot.